Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
Welcome to an all-new Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Rachel Dahl, sitting in today for Sam Shad. We'll be talking about data centers and why local communities would consider locating a data center in their community. We're talking with Bob Sweetin from Powerline Law and Scott Bensing with SB Strategic Consulting today on Nevada Newsmakers.
The trucking industry is the most resilient link in the supply chain, moving 95% of our freight in the Silver State. And while essential, the road isn't always smooth. Supply chain disruptions, rising fuel costs, and unrealistic rules and laws that hamper our ability to serve our customers and country. Our prosperity and every sector of the economy, manufacturing, mining, medicine, and food from farm to table, is tied to trucks. There's nothing without trucking.
A power line is more than a power line. It's maintaining the bottom line for small businesses. It's keeping the assembly line moving for our workforce. For our brightest minds, it's meeting a deadline. It's on the front line with our heroes. And on the sidelines of the biggest games. It's a direct line to our loved ones. And it's a lifeline for the most vulnerable. There's a lot on the line.
This summer, all roads lead to Tamarack Casino for trucks or bucks. Win up to $5,000 in cash every week. Buckle up and win a brand new Tundra or up to $45,000 in cash. Shift the winning and your good times into high gear at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
Good morning. This is Rachel Dahl in for Sam Shad on Nevada Newsmakers. Today we're with Scott Bensing, who is with SB Strategic Consulting, and Bob Sweetin with Powerline Law, two of my old friends. And we're going to be talking today about data centers. And before anyone gets all crazy and turns us off, because I'm a local news person, I feel like it's really important to have a balanced conversation. And we're hearing all the reasons why data centers are bad, but local communities and local governments are looking at them. So I really want to hear why. And I typically would have asked some of my local elected officials to come, but I didn't want to put them in the hot seat because there's so much vitriol right now. But I know you two can do a good job of this. So Scott, why don't we start out with you? Why would a local government look at a data center?
First of all, I think it may be a good idea to put some local elected officials in the hot seat. Not because they're doing anything wrong, but because it's an issue that's kind of crept up on us, I think, and there are a lot of legitimate concerns. We're the most arid state in the country, so there are water concerns. The vast amounts of energy are something that obviously our utility couldn't get its arm around, and I'm not sure anybody could have. So those concerns are real, but there are answers to those concerns. And I guess if I were looking for a way forward, I go back to local elected officials. It's not good enough just to show up at council meetings or county commission meetings and vote one way or another. There really is I think a dearth of kind of a trusted advisor, someone who has taken the time, is intellectually curious, has been elected to get both sides and kind of get those answers. So I hope that programs like this, the reporting you do with your newspapers, kind of help people ascertain what a fact from fiction. But there are tremendous opportunities, and I think the reason that I'm here this morning, because I'm very excited about the opportunities, not just for the state, not just for communities, but for kind of a transformational growth. Kind of like it's probably not a good analogy, but like the Comstock load. I mean, this is a big deal. It's got a shelf life. Failure is an option if we don't do this well.
Right. So how do we do this well? Bob Sweetin?
Yeah, Rachel and Scott gave a great response there. I think that we do it well by communicating with each other, by listening to stakeholders, listening to community members. I think that You know, I've spent a lot of time in rural Nevada over my career, and I really love rural Nevada. And it's fun to meet all the different personalities and to see all the different community interests that exist. And I think that one thing in common in my experience in the rural communities is that projects fail when there's a lack of communication or there's some feeling of forcing projects down a community's throat. And that right now, I would submit that Nevada has the right people around the table. We're working, I mean, Scott mentioned the utility and the difficulties in meeting this historic demand and the comparison to the Comstock load. It's something nationwide that every utility and every state is grappling with, and they're all choosing kind of different avenues. I think here in Nevada, because we do have the advantage of being a small state, we all kind of know each other and or can at least get a hold of each other. By having some of those collaborative discussions, we can solve some of the more difficult problems. I'm not saying we have every answer, but we can find answers and we can find solutions that work. Because like Scott said, it does unlock historic economic development opportunity. We talk a lot about diversifying our economy. This is certainly an avenue to get there.
Right. I came up in economic development years ago when Dean Haymore was driving around Story County with his briefcase full of permits, and they were selling Story County because you could come and get a permit out of Dean's briefcase, and it worked. I mean, look at what they've done. But we were sitting in an economic development meeting one day, and Dean Haymore made no bones about it. We're here to build infrastructure and economic development, and you all, speaking to the other rural counties around them, are going to have to solve the problems of housing and all of the other pieces. We are not building houses in Story County. We're building the machine. You guys solve the other problems. So how do the other counties tackle that now that they're looking at the industry and that's coming towards them?
It's an interesting roadmap, and I think it's important that as successful as Story County has been, I think other rural communities will stand up and say, we're not Story County. Right. Each one is unique. Each one have their own sets of concerns, but actually, and have their own sets of needs. And I think when we look at some of the benefits, people go immediately to the financial benefits, which are substantial. And we talk, and we'll talk in this legislative session, I think, about these tax abatements and whether or not they should be kept where they are, whether or not they should be phased out. Other states are kind of combating these same policy issues. But the upside financially, again, is transformational to a lot of these rural communities. And again, if I'm looking for an example, I look at the mining industry. You know better than anyone, Rach, that mines are great paying jobs. Their input into the local budgets are sometimes the majority of what is spent, and they're long term. They're going to be there. It's not a 2 to 5 year deal. Right. It's a 20 to 30 year deal. And I think this opportunity is similar to that. People don't make these kinds of investments and on a whim and think, well, we'll see how it goes after 5 years and then maybe we'll pull out. These are long-term investments, and the money that goes back into not just the localities and property taxes, sales taxes for education. Talk to some union folks. Talk to the IBEW. Talk to the plumbers and pipe fitters and see how high they are on what's happening with data centers. Because the flip side, in fairness, is these investments don't generate a lot of jobs. The jobs they do generate are pretty good, but they do, on the construction side, they do really well.
Right.
And again, on the flip side, they also don't require, and we'll talk about it maybe, the water that people fear they do. They don't require the police and fire support. They don't require the schools and the other things that are such massive drains on municipal governments. Yeah. So there's a lot you can do with this growth and this opportunity. And I always fall back to one of the ways to get around these challenges is through technology. We're good at doing that.
Yeah, it's really good. So when a data center or a big industrial customer or, a big building with whatever inside of it comes to a community, what are the benefits? Like there's a property tax, there are jobs. Like talk about the property tax piece of that in terms of abatements. Do data centers qualify for abatements? And so is that one of the reasons people aren't interested in them, or how does that work?
Yeah, so Rachel, as to the abatements in the current framework, personal property taxes, that's the computers that go inside of the data center, those do qualify currently for an abatement. Like Scott mentioned, I think we're going to talk a lot about that in the upcoming legislative session. What is important to note is not abated are real property taxes. And why that's important is right now nationwide, this, as I said earlier, this is an issue. It's kind of spun off an entire industry called powered land transactions. So that is taking greenfield land, nothing out there,
Right.
getting electrical infrastructure either built on it. We hear it a lot in terms of bring your own generation.
Yeah.
And we've seen that there is a significant market interest in building out those systems where local communities take on that task and want to, realize those benefits for themselves. Here in Nevada, we have probably one of the most business-friendly environments for that type of large infrastructure growth through development agreements, through franchise fees. Those things are not abated. So just because a particular hyperscale facility or an advanced manufacturing facility comes into a town and they might qualify for abatements through the Governor's Office of Economic Development, that doesn't mean that local government can't negotiate via development agreement for additional benefits. And to Scott's point, these facilities, advanced manufacturing is a little different because you do have manufacturing workers that are in the facility, maybe a little more than a traditional data center would. But all of these facilities, they're based on emerging technologies. So you don't have that same constraint on your population growth in an immediate way. Construction workers is one. Those are long-term, very high-paying jobs. But what you can do is those local governments can take those funds they accrue from these facilities. Permit and construction fees are another huge revenue generator on the facilities at this scale. And they can put that into their local schools. They can put it into healthcare. They can put it into parks. We're seeing projects where in the long term hospitals are being proposed as part of community development packages. And for anyone in rural Nevada, I think healthcare is anywhere I've been has always been a hot button
Huge
issue.
issue.
And we're seeing the avenue to solve it. We're seeing the avenue to solve our kind of long troubled public education system and the way that that's funded and different opportunities and how to fund it. And that's what makes me really excited about doing this work. I mean, we don't move fast enough that my kids will probably see the benefits, but my grandkids, I hope, or their friends, they'll have those benefits in the long term.
Right. Well, let's take a break real quick, and we'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers. Rachel Dahl with Scott Bensing and Bob Sweetin on Nevada Newsmakers.
Meet Nevada Health Link, Nevada's official health insurance marketplace. Your link to savings, selection, free assistance, and name brand health insurance, where 90% of enrollees lower the cost of their monthly premium. Everyone deserves access to quality health coverage, no matter your income or family size. Visit NevadaHealthLink.com. A few minutes could save you hundreds of dollars per month.
Nevada Health Link. Our plans are made for your plans.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
I'm Rachel Dahl in for Sam Shad today on Nevada Newsmakers, chatting with Scott Bensing and Bob Sweetin about data centers, all things data centers. In the break, we got all carried away talking about water and energy ratepayers. So, Scott, why don't you start with Water and Natural Resources Committee and all?
So those are the big questions. So we ought to address them directly. The Interim Committee on Natural Resources at our legislature had a hearing maybe 2 months ago now, where they brought people in from around the state to directly address those issues. And I got to tell you, after just watching that hearing, starting with water, there were folks from the Southern Nevada Water Authority, I believe, who testified that right now the policy in Southern Nevada is if you come with any kind of data center of size, you have a zero water footprint. It's not something that's negotiated. It's par for the course. That you're building the new A Stadium in Las Vegas, zero water footprint. We can do this. We're doing it in Nevada, and it's the standard. So why that isn't the standard around the state, communities will have to make that decision for themselves. But if you're looking for regulations to give people peace of mind, that's not going to be a drain on local water resources, we're doing it in Nevada. So I think that's key. You know, what does that do? Well, that means we need more energy because we've got to use some other power to cool and get rid of this heat that the data centers make. Energy is an issue with the utility, as it is with utilities around the country. But again, there are solutions. They're not only new technologies, there are companies who are willing to lay down a big chunk of money to make this stuff work. There are developers who are trying to track some of these data centers. They're the data centers themselves. And now with the ratepayer protection pledge that the president talked about, that Governor Lombardo was signed on to, if you're going to open a data center, you bring your own power. And in some cases, that power is on a different grid than the residential grid is. So there's really no way it can impact your power rates as a resident, and I think that's kind of the assurance we want. I don't want my rates to go up, but if those two things are kind of the price of doing business, zero water footprint, bring your own power, I think those are the two, and then we can talk about land at some point, which we have a whole lot of here in the state. I think that knocks down two of the biggest concerns for a lot of rural communities.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about power during the break. One time you told me that when you were in the Navy, you drove a boat.
A ship.
You said boat. I didn't know what that meant. I learned a lot from you about that, but I got the chance to go on an aircraft carrier in the desert and was just amazed by what they can do, generating their own power using nuclear.
Self-sustaining.
Desalinate all the water. It's absolutely amazing what you can do with technology. So talk to us, Bob, about what that means in terms of bringing your own power.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. When it comes to bringing your own power, which I think the current governor's administration has done a great job of holding these large developers accountable in those ways, and also working out deals where it's marketable. It's, the phrase that we hear a lot is speed to power. The constraints are pretty lengthy across the country and the demand's here now. And so the more we can capitalize on that demand, the more business growth and benefits we can bring to Nevada if we do it right. A lot of these, specific back to the rural communities point, in a lot of these systems that we're looking at and are being discussed, they are, like Scott alluded to, they're not on the wider NV Energy network grid system. Because of that, they operate kind of, the term is microgrid, but these are pretty big systems. So, I don't know that's the right word for it. Ring-fenced is another word we've used, meaning that the power is used inside of this industrial park. It's used by the beneficial users, the people who need that power. On those systems, it would be an impossibility for ratepayers to have any impact. Now, those systems are going to serve the neighboring residential folks who are already there and the small business and commercial buildings that already exist in the community. But what it does is it brings more generation assets into the state of Nevada. It brings the opportunity to build out more transmission and resiliency in the grid. along with that. And it provides a forum for these facilities to be constructed properly. One note I would make on that is any system I'm aware of that is developing in this regard, they're fully committed to following the state's renewable portfolio standard. That is adopted, including the numbers, the 50% renewable by 2030 in our state constitution. Very difficult to get that amended or changed. I don't know anyone that's really trying at this point. Everyone's agreeing to do it. So I would submit that allowing these systems to go forward and these types of projects not only brings the sort of economic benefits we were talking about, but also brings in these longer-term renewable projects. It creates a forum for the more advancing and emerging technologies to be built out and then scale up, and for Nevada to be a national leader on these issues. And you know, natural gas is being talked about a lot right now. Yeah. I don't know anyone that's looking at that as like a forever solution, right? We do go through NDEP. There's very rigorous constraints around air pollutants, air quality controls. The projects have to follow those to move forward. Local governments can also, through development agreements, as I stated earlier, make additional requirements if they chose to do so, and it wouldn't drive the business away, I suppose. But we're seeing, you know, in a way that is unique nationwide. Maybe Texas and Project Stargate is the closest equivalent. We're seeing all eyes falling on Nevada, both from the generation side and from the end-use customer side. And they want to do business here. They want to do it responsibly. They want to engage those stakeholders and make sure they're not harming the environment. Right. And no one benefits in that scenario.
Right. So when we hear the natural gas-fired plants, there still is a requirement that there's 50% renewables by, what is that, 4 years from now?
2030, 4 years from now.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't we take one last little break, and we'll come back and we'll wrap this up. Thank you for joining us today on Nevada Newsmakers with Bob Sweetin and Scott Bensing. I'm Rachel Dahl.
Welcome to Story County, where history meets innovation, and a pioneering spirit continues to shape our future. At the heart of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we power the future with global leaders in technology and manufacturing, driving progress that reaches far beyond our county lines. From advanced manufacturing to tech innovation, our industries are creating thousands of quality careers, fueling a vibrant economy that benefits every Nevadan. But it's more than just growth. Our community is our foundation, supporting families, empowering local initiatives, and creating a place where everyone belongs. Be part of a legacy built on bold ideas and boundless possibilities. Join us in building a brighter future right here in Story County. Story County, helping build Nevada's future.
At Nevada Urban Indians in Reno, your health is our priority. Our medical clinic welcomes everyone. We accept all insurances, ensuring quality care is within reach. Nevada Urban Indians, your partners in health.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
We're back on Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Rachel Dahl. We're talking about data centers and all the things that local communities are facing and talking about so much. One of those being the issue of land space. Nevada's vast, and we've heard that for years from federal agencies. So let's chat briefly. Scott, why don't you take this one and talk about what that means for local communities?
Well, I guess I would say rural Nevada traditionally is blessed with a good amount of land. We as a state bring so many benefits to the table here. One, we're small, we're agile. We have one of the best business tax environments in the country. We're constrained in land only, I think, because the federal government owns
so much of it,
85+% of it. But the good news is we bring all these great things to the table. And in some of the cities, I mean, I'd say in Reno, Sparks, they're running out of land. In rural Nevada, we're not running out of land. And that's why it's such a neat opportunity for communities that have been overlooked by a lot of the companies that are looking to relocate here. So I think it's a good way to kind of equalize that economic diversity around the state, and is a primary opportunity for rural Nevada to maybe play catch up.
Right. Yeah. One of the things we used to look at is when you are starting to do economic development, you kind of look at what your existing resources are and how do you build from that. And these rural communities, that's what they have, and it's valuable. And I know that communities are concerned about it, but this is something they have that they can use to market themselves and be successful. Well, thanks for coming on to talk about a pretty interesting topic right now. And I appreciate that you helped me look at both sides of this, and hope we can visit again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks for joining us today on Nevada Newsmakers. I'm Rachel Dahl, and for Sam Shad.
Light up your July at the Carson Valley Inn. Win up to $25,000 in the All-American Progressive giveaways. $1,500 winner guaranteed each drawing night. And $30,000 in grand prize giveaways. Only at the Carson Valley Inn.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
2025 is bringing big changes for Nevada businesses. If you have more than 5 employees and have been operating for 3 years or more, you must now comply with new state retirement plan mandates. The Vegas Chamber 401k plan makes it easy, offering a proven, customizable, and cost-effective plan for employers and employees to save with tax advantages. Visit vegaschamber.com to explore options and see how the Vegas Chamber can help you start saving for your future.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Thanks for joining us today on Nevada Newsmakers. Remember, you can watch us online 24/7 at nevadanewsmakers.com. You can watch us on your favorite podcast channel or always YouTube. Thanks again for joining us on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.